is a major difference. And this is because of consciousness becoming self-conscious. And self-consciousness means reflection. Reflection means questioning the things and creating some sort of written shastras where we debate the things. And slowly, we create a big chunk of knowledge, and that creates some sort of a civilizational perspective. But it is not only that, it is the search for meaning. It is the search, a particular type of search which distinguishes one civilization from the other. So Dayaji is not blurring the difference. He is saying the civilization is a very next and very developed form of consciousness. But sometimes we in our discussions, and sometimes I have seen without taking much care, we use these terms interchangeably. So that creates a lot of confusion. But we must be very clear about the role of and the understanding of civilization in Diage's sense. But the what you talked about, that that I myself question, and that how can Diage talk about Marx's vision without talking about the Marxist technique or the way of reaching that vision, and also the understanding of Marx about the cultural and civilizational phenomena. This is the, you can say, a gap between his thinking. And had he been alive, you and I would have accompanied him and asked, and went to Jaipur and asked this question to him. Then we could have discussed it in a very detailed way. But one thing we must be very clear, and he is very clear in saying that Marx theory has failed. He is not with Marx theory of social change and revolution. But what he is emphasizing, that future vision that Marx has given, that is the most important vision for the future of not only India, it is for the future of humanity. And this vision is the vision of justice. Justice between men, men, between men and women, between men and minorities, between uh, all sorts of justice is to be actualized. How it is to be done, that Dehaji is silent about. So you can criticize him. How can your liberal way of looking at things lead to this sort of Marxian vision? This is a big question. I think Dehaji only can reply. I am not able to reply that. But the thing is, what I emphasize and which you took very seriously, and that is the trans-civilizational perspective. And this is what we are lacking, not only in India, but in the East, in the Middle East, in America, in Europe. Slowly and slowly, we are heading more towards some sort of parochial, conservative, restrictive, or what I can say, a tribal way of looking at things, looking for the superiority of our own community, our own culture, our own civilization, and trying to create a sort of identity conflict, cultural identity conflict. So this idea of trans-civilizational perspective can give us a solution to that cultural identity conflict. And this is the solution. This is the conclusion which I myself reached independently of Dyaji. I was very proud to see that Dyaji is also thinking those terms. And this, I don't know whether you would agree with me or not, but I think that this is a sort of, some sort of further development, a sort of jump in his thinking, because from local or from Indian or from Western perspectives, he is going for some sort of a global perspective, and this perspective he is trying to develop a sort of philosophy which can counter the challenge of postmodernism. That should also be taken into account. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tandon ji. Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. I said, Dr. Rao, are you free to moderate? Rao, sir.
Sir, you carry on, sir. They are on the lower
Okay,
side.
okay. Yes, yes. I know your problem. Yes, okay. Dr. Jatinder, you have raised your hand. Please
Yeah.
respond, sir.
Good evening, everybody. It was a treat to listen to Dr. Alok and Professor Ranjit Ghosh. I was fortunate enough to interact with Dayaji only once, but I received his ideas through our teachers, Professor Bhuvan Chandel and my mentor, Professor Satyapal Gautam, and through his books. And since my research area was also in the domain of culture and civilization, so I was fortunate enough to uh, read him. And, uh, uh, I would like to bring an aspect from prolegomena to any future historiography, and that relates to culture, differentiation between culture and civilization, how Dayaji differentiates between culture and civilization, and that for me has some bearings on nostalgia and utopia for the civilizations as well. And that is when he talks about apprehension and realization of values. And he says that apprehension of values is a cultural pursuit, whereas realization of values is a civilizational pursuit. So, in a manner of speaking, uh, history of culture would be the history of value apprehension, whereas civilizational history could be seen as history of value realization. And when we talk of value realization, both techniques as well as institutional frameworks, they play a role in value realization. And the dynamics of culture and civilization when it comes to value apprehension and value realization, that has a bearing on the development of human society, human civilization as well. I mean, culture sees, for Dayaji, culture sees value as value, whereas for civilization, value becomes available to the masses through the framework of institutions. Institutions, in a manner of speaking, embody certain values, and they become available to the masses through those institutions. And sometimes it so happens that when we are looking at the past, then the past institutions, if we see values embodied in them, and sometimes we start idolizing those institutions, and then for us, those values, we somehow reduce them to facts only. But once we start looking to them as values, when we try to transcend the given, transcend the biologicity and the given circumstances, then certain new values are apprehended and civilization works to realize those new values. And then the nostalgia is related to the past institutions and past value realization, whereas in utopia we try to project and apprehend values for which civilization will strive to realize those values. So somewhere the path leads to the transcultural and trans civilizational perspective if we start looking at the things uh, uh, from the perspective of values, taking values as creative and apprehending new values and civilizational framework as and institutional framework as a medium to realize those values. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you very much, Jacinder. And you have further elaborated the distinction between the culture and civilization. And I am very much thankful for your reading of Tyaji's this particular book. I have not gone through that, and I think that you have brought out the distinction more clearly between culture and civilization, and how this understanding of civilization is linked to the creation of a trans-civilizational perspective or consciousness. Thank you very much, and I will myself look into it in future, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, sir. Now it is over to Satyendra Kumar Srivastav. Satyendra
Okay.
ji.
Yes, yes. Good evening, sir. It's a wonderful talk delivered by Alok, sir. And I'm audible, sir?
Yeah, yeah, you
Okay,
are.
okay. The topic that is just culture, civilization, relation between culture and civilization is always very challenging as well as appealing, sir. More we study, more we get some new ideas. It is my some observation and some question to the Alok, sir. Sir, culture generally we say that is it reflects our inner progress, and where civilization represents some outer progress. So that's why I say civilization is something like you can say advanced version of human beings or human progress. Okay, we say being civilized or being cultured, something like that one. Okay, people mention the books of Samuel Huntington and others, but when we read the autobiography of Nelson Mandela, okay, there is you can say larger perception that Britishers are very civilized, okay, and we Indians or Africans are not civilized. I don't know that we believe that their culture or not. That is a different issue, and I don't think being civilized always denote being progressive and being moral. Okay, best example is the West that they had dominated entire world through their very brutal and other way. It is not my statement. It is the statement of Leo Tolstoy, Vivekanand, Mahatma Gandhi, and recently I read a book. It is the white the burdens of white people. Okay, that is these scholars challenge Western notion of civilization. Unfortunately, I'm saying unfortunately, we fail to understand the notion of civilization with reference to morality. Okay. And one more thing, sir. Where we put a religion, religion is a domain of culture or civilization, or it has a different domain. This is something. Thank you, sir. Thank
Thank you, Satyenji, for your very pertinent questions.
you.
And I think uh, you are going by the old differentiation between culture and civilization, which was traditionally taken as civilization as some sort of inner things, and culture as something inner progress, and civilization as something outside. So this distinction is no longer considered valid, and
Yes.
so
Yes, I agree,
so
sir. Yes.
so I think this we will have to drop, because the whole idea of culture in modern times is not restricted to what we call cultured people, some sort of high culture, something like uh, uh, dance, drama, poetry, and these sort of cultural things which we call. So the idea of culture is not restricted to that now. So this whole thinking about culture is very narrow, and we don't accept this nowadays. Nowadays, culture means the you can say the style of living, and that style of living contains all these things, music, drama, and these things also, but also the values, and the values which a community aspires to. So for me, the culture is not only uh, what I call in Hindi मूल्य drishti. It is not only a perspective about values. It is also about how these values are realized in society. Is there any mechanism to realize them there? And what is the मूल्य निष्ठा and मूल्यों को अर्जित करने की प्रक्रिया? All three things, when they are there, then it is called culture. So this whole idea of culture, which was previously taken to be granted, but that is not the case nowadays. So we understand culture in a more broader terms nowadays. And when we think about culture in such a way, then it becomes somewhat very much closer to mm, civilization. That's my worry. And the way Jatinder has pointed out that the idea of realization of those values is the question of civilization, not of culture only. Culture is only about the aspiration. So this is a distinction. It is a sort of distinction made by the intellect. But in actual practice, how can we make such a distinction? And because when we say that we value mm, moksha, and this is the highest value, so if it is only just said, but it is not practiced, and if it has got no institutions to practice that, then we can say it is simply a cultural thing. But somehow or other, this is not the case. We have religious institutions, we have got practicing institutions for that. And that's why I say the whole idea of culture and civilization get blurred a bit. So it is my own confusion. But your other question is very important. See, Dayaji says, and also we must agree that civilization just does not mean only values. Civilization mean the whole of the economy, quality, morality, and day-to-day life, and also enmity, war, and you must say crime, and the way to deal with that. That this is the whole idea, the way society moves towards certain things. So in that sense, the Daya Krishna will say that each civilization has got a core idea of search, and this core idea of search dominates its civilizational perspectives as well as its actions. Now, with reference to Indian civilization, he said that it was about the mm, transforming human consciousness in a way that it is free from all malice, greed, and etc. etc. But what about Western civilization? There, reason was the central, and reason was used to control the and understand the outer world. Now, with the development of reason in that direction, and with the development of technology on that basis, and also the development of capitalism, and development of imperialism, and the development of colonialism, these are the things which dominated the other countries and exploited them. So they preached a morality, but they did not practice that. And this morality was counter to the morality of, you can say, modernists like Kant and their own whole tradition, uh, which were very much counter the exploitation of colonial people. So, in a way, you can say that this Western civilization led to this sort of exploitation. In a way, you can say. But there can be a counter perspective also, that even in India, our freedom fighters, so many leaders, they got their inspiration from the liberal thinking of the modernist thinkers. So how we cannot say that this was the morality of the Western civilization. There was a sort of dialectics in that, but still we must say that the whole idea of that type of dominating morality is over. That was a colonial morality. That was a sort of exploitative morality, and this was having some sort of superior understanding that they have come here to civilize Indian people. We are barbaric, we are not civilized. So this sort of understanding that can be seen in Western civilizations, with the domination of reason and domination of reason over other thing. This for this we have to go deeper into the dilemmas and the dark part of the modernity itself. Modernity on one part is very liberating. We talk about equality, fraternity, and freedom. But on the other hand, that modernity has also led to alienation, separation, domination, exploitation, all these things. So the two types of morality, I must say, is coming from the in this modern Western perspective, and somehow or other they practice one form of morality in their countries and the other form of morality in those countries where they were having control and domination. For the relation between religion and culture, and this is a very problematic topic even for me, but in the older societies, religion was at the center of the culture, and that the whole idea of style of living, what we say form of life, had religion in the center of life, and religion prescribed how to live, what is good, what is valuable. But slowly and slowly, now culture, and especially secular culture, and especially after the fight between religion and state in the West, culture has slowly and slowly detached itself from the centrality of religion. And that is done by the scientific rationality, by questioning many of the cultural understanding of the outer world. Religions used to proclaim many things about the origin of the universe, working of the nature, and as well as about the values to be followed accordingly. Now, the whole area of understanding of nature and the outside world is taken away from religion. And here, scientific rationality controls this domain. And so, slowly and slowly, the centrality of religion in culture is deteriorating. But this is not the case everywhere. Those countries who have not gone through the whole of the uh, enlightenment process and the industrial revolution, as well as the fight between religion and state that happened in the Western Europe and that led to secular culture, that has not happened historically in many countries like India, uh, Middle East, South Africa, and all these there. So there, the the religious and religious leaders, they are fighting to recapture their central position against this sort of modernity. So this is a big clash, and this clash is behind this identity conflict. So they create a sort of cultural identity perspective based on religion to show, to, to, to come out of their own insecurities, their own uh, way of trying to redominate the public sphere and deny the modernity, the values of modernity. So this clash is happening all over the world. I have dealt in some detail in my book about this identity crisis and how it leads to this sort of cultural identity uh, in many countries these days. So this is a paradox of development, and I think this is a very good question. And what will happen to religion? Because religion is also changing its face. It is more commercialized, it is more politicalized, and this we can see even in India. So the It is trying to recapture the cultural domain. But will it be possible, or should we allow it to happen? This is the challenge of, we can say, this is a civilizational challenge. This is challenge for the future of. So with these words, I would like to discuss it in big detail, but in some other occasion. But this is a good thing that people are thinking about the place of religion in culture, like you
Thank
and
you.
me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Very good response. And now I shall invite Dr. Kailash Chandra Das, sir. Sir, please have your observation or any question.
At the outset, I must thank Tandonji for his very nice presentation, because neither I am a Daya Krishna student ever, nor am I acquainted with this problem of civilization. So I'll confine to one simple question, a naive question. Then my naive question will be regarding, does Daya Krishna think and is criticizing West that it is utopian, and India that it is very having the nostalgia? Is he taking that both the things as a criticism? Again, I don't find any reason on what context he says that their third is utopia, and he refers to which age of Western civilization. And when he says about Indian civilization that we have a nostalgia as a criticism, which age of India he's referring? Maybe he's referring to the present contemporary age that we are living in, that we are more trying to live in a past. In that sense, he is saying that we are living in a nostalgia. That is what I wanted a bit clarification on this actually, because I have not gone deeper into it. And Professor Mr. Dr. Tandon has really provoked me to go through Daya Krishnan's essays once again, because I have not gone through them. So I will definitely look into it. And also, I have some rough idea about Hutchinson's, what Professor Ranjit Ghosh was saying. But these two things I have to say. And again, I have to say, in continuation with the of my previous speaker, Satyan Babu, what he said is that when the West is always thinking that they are going to civilizing the Indians, or especially this is the white man's burden, as he said, there also I have a thing that is some reason that the condensant is their a type of a superiority complex, that they are civilized and they look down upon the Indians as not civilized. But we see that slavery was there, and the greatest what we call the mark of civilizations in West, in England especially and America, they are also the results of most barbaric acts they have done. So the type of exploitation, the type of slave trades, human trade they have done. So in a group of civilized people, they have been the most barbaric people. And that kind of example was never in, I think, India, though you have very rightly said that we are suffering from, we are not addressing, doing justice to Dalits and minorities in our country. But still, then there's a very controversial and debatable issue that actually our intellectual standard of the past, is it really can be interpreted that as the practice of certain things, the ideology that is taught in our texts and shastras, and the reflection in society may be different. So that way, but we had a tradition like that. But because history of ancient history cannot be so much traceable like the recent history. Recent history we can have a lot of documentations and evidences, because we cannot go to the past history so easily. And always history of ancient India remains very obscure. But that time, whatever literature we have, most of the interpretations say about that we had a very argumentative tradition in India, that we have given a lot of values to human values at least. And to my mind, whatever I understand, maybe my idea will be superficial, but what my mind has come, look, for civilizations, what it provides in a civilization is towards the happiness of our life. But I consider somewhere in different Indian traditions, happiness, the contribution to happiness is not, suppose having a great building, having all luxuries of life, this can add to happiness. My health also, value of health and all these things, they lead to my happiness. But meaning of life is also very important. And all things that is happy, giving happiness also is giving meaning is not so. There may be coincidences that happiness that provides happiness also meaning is there, but also we can make a distinction between things providing happiness and things providing meaning to life. So in that sense, I think a lot of work has been done, and I will restrict myself with this because this topic scope is very vast. I will not actually venture to go much inside it because a lot of things are not settled, and I will not come to a conclusion. Actually, I will not dare to come to a conclusion about it. But these are the issues that is before us. So, is Daya Krishna um, saying that utopia, in what sense actually saying utopia is a criticism, and they are doing they have the utopia and we are confined to a nostalgia. Exactly, can you illustrate it more and elaborate a little bit? It will help me to actually understand. But I thank you that you have really provoked me to go into and study Daya Krishna once again. I have heard about him as a great thinker and a philosopher par excellence in our country. I have listened to two of his lectures sometimes in an Indian Philosophical Congress in Delhi, and but I was not fortunate enough to know him. So your comments, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much for bringing some more issues, more important issues in this connection. So, first, your take is correct that slavery was there, and before they came to India and other parts of the world, and after they came to India and colonized Indians and other people, that whole idea of morality was totally destroyed, and the superiority of their thinking was simply a sort of complex or simply a sort of parochial thinking, and Deaji is very much against that, and everybody should be like that. We countered in our Renaissance to that type of thinking, bringing forth many of our past achievements and bringing it forth how far we had developed in various domains of human life, and they be put before the world. So that thing is more or less settled for me. And if we go on just repeating that we did that, and in Veda this is there, in the Upanishad that is there, I think the period of that has over now because they are no longer here, and this colonial burden we should not accept now, and we should be confident enough to move forward without their colonial perspective on us. So when our people talk about this way we used to talk in the early years of 20th century, I think you are still colonized mind. And when uh, you get free from that, then we can face our problems as well as the problems of the world in a very independent way, not by being colonized by the West, as well as not colonized by our own tradition. And that is very important for me, that an independent thinking is neither to be dominated by the West nor to be dominated by our own past. And that is the legacy of Deji, that we will have to question not only the Western thinkers, but also our own tradition and the thinkers. Only then we can have some independent understanding of the philosophical and other issues. So that is, for me, it is a little very much settled. And Deaji, when he talks about utopia and nostalgia, he is saying that Western civilization there is nothing wrong in utopian thinking. He himself is talking about the utopian vision for the future. What he is objecting is that Western civilization has cut off, has made a break with its past, its Christian as well as pre Christian past. So that has created some sort of lack of understanding of their past. And this has created some problems. One of them is overemphasis on reason. It may be like that because we now know that when we overemphasize reason, other aspects like emotion and other things are neglected. So he is criticizing the cutting off, the breaking off uh, past from in the Western society or the civilization. He is not against utopian thinking. He himself is talking about building an utopia for the future that is not only for West as well as for Indians. Yes, for Indians, he is talking about that we are living in nostalgia. We only think, and that I myself said that we think that everything glorious, every achievement has already been done in the past, and we have only to recover it. I think this is the thing we must question. And a very simple question is that with all our intellectual achievements in the past, we could not develop modern science. And when we think about this question, we can see the limitations of our own knowledge systems. So that nostalgia makes us totally unaware of our own weaknesses. And glorifying our achievements is okay. We must learn from them, we must acknowledge them. But what we have neglected, we have neglected science, we have neglected economics, we have neglected polity, and also we could not develop a framework of understanding all this. And along with this, we have not been able to have an utopia of a just society that we were talking about, caste system and all that. So, in that way, is saying that we should come out of that nostalgia, that we have achieved everything in the past and we have only to recover that. That is what we call revivalism. That leads to some sort of revivalism. That is not a creative process of any civilization building. So we have to look the things in this way, that how far past is to be taken, understood, criticized, and creatively used. That is more important. And that part is sometimes missing in Western civilization, and sometimes it is overemphasized in Indian civilization. So that is what he is criticizing. And when we come to what you said, this is the textual question that I cannot answer, because the relationship between the text and the history is rather very blurred in Indian civilization, and we have not written history. We don't have that type of history writing tradition in India. So it is very difficult to say what is written in the text and what was there in the society, and whether they were in harmony with each other. So this question we must leave for the historians to settle, if they can settle it in future. But the question of meaning of life, when you talk about here also, and this is very important, when Dayaji says that civilization is about creating meanings, means whether Western or Indian, they are creating meanings. They are creating meaning of life. But what type of meaning we have created? We have created a meaning of life for an individual to go for individual moksha, neglecting vyavhar. We call it parmarthik sat, vyavharik sat. You know all about it. So when vyavhar is neglected and meaning of life is seen only in individual liberation of individual consciousness, then the society suffers. And ultimately, the civilization also suffers. So, Vyavhar means you have to take the other together. I am very much tempted to refer to two lectures of Dayaji on freedom. Long back, he wrote a paper on freedom, and that freedom was about the ultimate freedom. But in the later part, I think it was in 2007 or something, he wrote a paper, and that paper is uh, that old paper was 1952 paper. That was about the ultimate freedom, the foundational freedom. And the foundational freedom was what? That every person has got freedom to take his own life. This is the foundational freedom. And the ultimate freedom is what? Our spiritualists say that in any situation, it is given to you. You can be free. This is the ultimate freedom. But in 2006, he wrote a paper, and that was the title I don't have at the moment. It was about the empirical freedom, the biological freedom, the determined freedom, and the freedom in the society. He said this is the most important freedom. No, it is with constants, it is with limitations, but it is with other human beings. And this is not ultimate, this is not foundational, this is to be negotiated. And it is to be negotiated with others. And only then we can create a heaven, not the hell with others. So, criticizing Sartre even. So, when this understanding, I think I could not have time to discuss this whole idea of freedom in Dyaji's later perspective, but I found that this idea of freedom is very concrete, it is very social. And here, the meaning created is the meaning that is not ultimate, that is not the spiritual meaning. He says and he uses the word that the illusion of ultimate freedom. What spiritualists say freedom is the illusion of ultimate freedom. So he criticizes that type of meaning which is given by spiritualists in our civilization to human beings. He is for the different type of meaning in which he is against the ascetic life. He says that we don't want Gandhi's way of living. We cannot. And we need to have some sort of social arrangements in which everybody can have a good, comfortable life with, with entitlement to education, to health, and with entertainment and some other development of his own potentialities. So his vision as well as meaning of life is not consumeristic, not hedonistic, but also not spiritualistic. I think this will somewhat settle your question about the meaning of.
Dr. Tandon,
Yeah.
I think whether you would agree to this or not, do you think that Dayaji had in mind when he's talking about utopia, he had in mind about our the principle of unity in diversity? Because you see, even amongst the multiculturalism or cultural pluralism, this principle of unity in diversity, which is sometimes being taken as the hallmark of Indian culture. So when we are, it is, in my opinion, this is definitely an utopian thinking, because actually unity in diversity or diversity in unity. So I am always pondered about this position, that whether it is an utopian thinking or not, because we find all the diversified things in our present day scenario. And how can we, and when we think about unity, and that unity is definitely a type of utopian unity. How would you say this? React to this?
I don't know whether Dyaji talked about this unity and diversity anywhere in his writings, so I cannot comment on that. For me, this whole idea of unity and diversity is very confusing, and I think that when we talk about unity, and especially in Indian perspective, we talk about not cultural unity, we talk about a, a political unity, and that political unity is based upon our constitution. It is based upon our similar idea of citizenship. We are all citizens. We all have similar constitutional rights. And this similarity of citizenship, as ingrained in the constitution, creates the unity for Indians. For me, I think this is a sort of political unity. Diversity is there, and that diversity may create a sort of unity. That is no doubt an utopian way of looking at it. But here, the way I look and the way Dayaji look is similar. This is trans-civilizational perspective. You can translate it into trans-cultural perspective also. In that sense, you are a member of a cultural community, but you are open to others. You are not glorifying your cultural community to impose your superiority on other communities. Unless and until you are open to diversity around you, you cannot create unity. You can create unity only when you have got your identity, but you are open to others also, and you are ready to take from them and give to others. This is a sort of give and take. Then only some sort of trans cultural unity is created. And this is happening in practice also. If you see and look into 50 years back, when I went to Trivandrum, I was running around to find a hotel restaurant where I can get a chapati, and I could not get. But now you can get not only chapatis, you can get Punjabi food, you can get Rajasthani food, you can Bengali food, you can get South Indian food in most of the Indian towns. And people are very well accepting that. And even in their homes, they are preparing all sorts of dishes. And there's not they are not against anything. They may have different tastes. So slowly and slowly, what is happening? This diversity of eating habits is being accepted in our larger unity perspective. So this is a very small example I give, that diversity may not be antagonistic if you are ready to accept the good points of the others. If a South Indian wants relishes the Punjabi food and accepts that, what is wrong in that? And then when he is open to Punjabi food, then he is also open to Punjabis. So there are barriers, language barriers are there, other things are there, but the whole thing is which perspective you are acting. If you are acting on the basis of your strict, your only essentialist cultural identity, you cannot do that. You have to go beyond that. And that is what Dyaji is talking, and that's what I talk all this. So this is the way to create a unity. This is no doubt that.
That is all right. Political unity unifies all of us. But what about spiritual unity? Is it not utopian? From your perspective, you will say that spiritual unity is a is something which is
It
utopia.
is
But
an illusion.
when
It is,
I will not say that spiritual unity is a
it is
utopian
based
thing.
on an illusion. It
Yeah.
can be there. It has been there in the past to some senses, I must admit, that there were many religious places throughout India and people used to visit them. But that type of a spiritual unity in their consideration and in my own is based upon an illusion. So that thing will not be uh, possible to continue in the modern world. And what has happened? This spiritual unity has been deteriorated into what? Hindu, Muslim, all these types of conflicts. So how can you say that the spiritual unity can create
Religious
a sort of
unity is different from spiritual unity.
oh
Spiritual unity is a
this is
wider concept than
no
religious
doubt.
unity.
I have no doubt about it. But what happens in practice? Is it creating a unity in practice or not? This is the question. Conceptually, okay, nothing against that. My own contention will be that this conceptual thing is an illusion, but other people may have belief in that. But with that belief, what are they doing in practice? This is the questionable thing. The unity must be seen in the practice. It is not just in your mind. That is the thing. That is the problem area is there.
Thank you all for having a very beautiful discussion, very healthy discussion. So with this, we shall come to the end of the session. We shall end here because it is now 8:25. I appreciate the presentation of Dr. Alok Tandon-ji. Very nice interpretation. I appreciate also his deep study and understanding of for the philosophy of the Krishna. In some points, I shall differ. Therefore, my comment is not the final comment. After that, Alok Tandon-ji will have his final comment. I appreciate when he said that we should respect our past, but we should not be identified with the past. We shall just change this sentence by saying that we should not be identified with the dark side of the past. Dark side, the dogmatic aspects, dogmatic, anything is dogmatic. We should not be identified with that. But that does not mean that we should be uprooted from the past. If it would be so, then we shall land nowhere. We shall fly in the air, having no root. So the past is not totally neglected, or the past is not totally identified. The good things, good aspects of a past should be taken into account. Professor Hudananda Rai is a great scholar of Indian soil. He made a very beautiful distinction between culture and civilization by saying that civilization means what we have, culture means what we are. What we have, that includes our language, that may be very much influential. That includes our way of living, that includes the technology, that includes even politics, our social system, even value system. Value and value system, they are different. We are living in a value system that is something different, what is really valuable. So these are all civilizations. But culture is what we are. Number one. Number two, when we are talking about freedom and we are taking the name of Mukhya and we are interpreting it that it is personal, it is individual, and it is not a social. Here there is a problem in understanding the concept of freedom, because after all, we are all human beings. These debates are meaningful, these discussions are meaningful, these webinars are meaningful, because we human beings are discussing about the past, present, and future, about the dogmatism and about rationalism. We human beings give importance to reason and we condemn belief systems. But it is also Immanuel Kant who has undermined reason after some extent. That reason has also its limitation. You have to go beyond reason and sensation. And that is the real life according to Immanuel Kant. The life that we are living in the level of sensation and reason, that is the apparent life. That is not the real life. The true life is there beyond that. But Alok Tandon-Ji said that is trans-civilization state. So region is not the, region is also relative in that sense. We can reason for something for our personal purpose, for the purpose of the present scenario. So my point is, when we are talking about freedom, that is the freedom of mindset, that is the free living, free thinking. That is called Jivana Mukta in Indian culture, in Indian philosophy. It is called Jivana Mukta. By Mukhya, we should not give much importance to Videha Mukti, that you will be free from the life cycle. You will not take birth again and again. Forget this concept. But at least we should give importance to Jivana Mukti. That means you should have a free mindset, you should have a free thinking, and that is the meaning of rationality. Your rational means you should be free, you should have an open mind. So free living, free thinking, that should be the culture of our mind. That our mind should not be dogmatic, our mind should be free. That is the meaning of freedom, and that gives meaning to life. This is not an individual. All seers of Indian culture, they have come forward to establish different ashramas, mathas, to teach to give the message of that freedom to all common people. Buddha has returned, Shankaracharya has returned. They have not done for themselves, they have done this for the society. Why today we are disturbed in spite of having rich civilization? Because our mind is poor, because our mind is not free, because our mind is not settled. Our mind is roaming from this value to that value, from this ism to that ism. So yes, some problems are there in past culture. When we are talking about unity and we are discussing about spiritual unity and religious unity, religion is also a part of civilization. I belong to this religion. My religion is rich. My religion has, the population of my religion is more than other religions. This is all politics about religion. That is not spirituality. When we are misinterpreting spirituality in the name of a religion, as Ranjit Gosar said very correctly, that should not be. Religion is a matter of conflict. We should all agree. Therefore, Vedanta is beyond religion. Vedanta is beyond religion. When we are talking about spiritual unity, here we don't take anybody into the bracket. Neither Hindus, nor Muslims, nor Christians. No caste, no creed, no color. It is spiritual unity. We are discussing about that. We lack that, therefore we are suffering. We are suffering. Everything is mind. Man is mind. The existence is our problem. We should exist happily. We should exist with peace. That is lost. But what we have? We have Renaissance. We have enlightenment. We have civilization. We have a very dominant language. We have very rich religion. All these things, we have also very rich literature. All these things we have, but we lack our understanding, our peaceful living, our inner equanimity. That is lost. therefore we are disturbed. So when we are talking about moksha, forget about that ultimate freedom from this life cycle. That is also true, because one may not believe that. One may live his whole life without believing this. That may be, but we cannot avoid Jivana Mukti, that is free thinking, free living, free. That also that is also equal to say that questioning the authority. Yes, we can question the authority when there is something wrong in that authority. Vedas can be questioned, no doubt. But we should not question the truth. We should not question the cardinal values. If we question that, then we are creating new values, and values after values, conflicts after conflicts, and it has no end. This is my submission, but I agree with Dr. Tandon's view regarding the future perspective. We should not be blind. We should not have the dogmatic adherence to the past. We should come out of that box, and we should go forward for a very bright future, very optimistic future. That should be the motto of our life, and that should be the motto of the general psyche of all human beings. This is my submission, but this is not my final remark. It is to Alok Tandonji. Please have your last comment, and with that, we shall conclude the session.
Thank you very much, Pramod Das ji. You are talking from a very, very different perspective from that of mine. I must admit, you may be a spiritualist, and I will call myself naturalist in metaphysical perspectives. So we are bound to differ, and we must agree to disagree. This is the first thing I must say. So we will remain disagreeing with each other because our fundamental presuppositions, metaphysical presuppositions are different. I come from a naturalistic perspective, you come from an spiritualistic perspective, whatever it is. But the thing is that you agree that dogmatic side should be rejected. Here I will simply quote there are these words, how to look at the past. The past should not hold us. One should learn from the past, get inspiration from the past. The past should be used, valued, and respected, not rejected like the in the West. See, when he talks about the crisis of utopian thinking in West, is that they have rejected their past. That is the problem here. But let one not be identified with the past. Once we identify with the past, let us not say that everything that has to be achieved in the field of consciousness has already been achieved. The future is open. Let us not be bound by the past. These are the words of Daya Krishna. So I think this clarifies many of the things, how to look at our past. Past is ours. It is part of us. We cannot deny it. But once we look it at in a creative and a critical way, then we can find out what is living and what is dead in our tradition. And then we can reject some part of it. We can recreate certain things with the help of other traditions also. That should be the creative way of looking at our civilization as well as other civilizations also. So this openness of this is a sort of philosophical quest. This is not possible with those religious dogmatic people. This is only possible with the philosophers who like to think critically. They engage with past as well as future. So this is the methodology which Dyaji is talking about, and with this I agree, and I found this to be very, very important in the current scenario, in the current present Indian context also. where people are blindly talking about the past and rejecting so many modern achievements, which are parts of their life. They enjoy all the benefits of science and technology in their personal life. They use cars, they use this mobiles, they use aeroplanes, they use everything, but they criticize. Oh, science has done. Modernity is the real culprit of human civilization. I disagree with them. I simply say, give the keys of your Innova to me and go barefoot. Are you ready to go back? If you are not, then you will have to accept the need for science and technology, which has somehow or other historically developed first in the Western Europe. So this is a very simple historical fact, and this will you will have to accept. We have given that zero to the world, but we remained stuck at the zero. People developed from zero to infinity. Whatever happened, the progress about the mathematics and all these things. So don't say that we had, and what you did with what you had. You have not developed. So this is the problem. This is our own problem. And we should not be dogmatic at all. Now I come to, and here we have very little disagreement with you. But when we talk about the freedom of the mind, actually freedom of the mind and leading to some sort of uh, free consciousness, going towards some sort of cosmic consciousness, that is problematic in naturalistic perspective. And that's why Tyagi is not very clear about his metaphysical standpoint as far as I ever understood. But he calls this is an illusion because there is nothing like cosmic consciousness. And this whole idea of mingling into individual to cosmic consciousness is somewhat an illusion. When you talk about the Jivan Mukta, then the ultimate aim is still the reaching to the cosmic consciousness. Though Jivan Mukta keeps himself, uh, stops himself from the final mukti. So the thing is that the whole idea of having a meaning, that individual meaning of moksha, is not the idea of Daya Krishna. He is saying that ultimate freedom is an illusion. He rejects that. He said Indians have wasted their energy in this sort of pursuit, and that they have neglected society, polity, and vyavhara. So what has happened? Indians became slaves. These Jivan Muktas could not fight against the Britishers. They could not fight against the invaders, Islams, and all these things. They were simply thinking and doing their own sadhanas to reach the ultimate freedom. So that type of ultimate freedom is rejected in the Krishna's perspective. You may say, you may like that is very important, but I myself also not ready to subscribe to that. We want a sort of moral social order with some sort of utopian vision in which every person is capable of developing his even what sort of individual free mind you are talking about, that is also not possible. Just for take an instance, I am talking to you. If I were born in a Dalit household without having any land, without having any education, without having any resources in the village, and dominated by the upper caste people who had everything there, could I been able to talk with you like this? So there are certain basic parameters which are needed to develop a free personality also, and that is not available to every person in this society. So this is the injustice. This is the just vision of Marx. They are not against that you want to pursue an individual free spiritualistic mind. Go ahead. But before that, before creation of beauty, before creation of science, before creation in mathematics, in philosophy, everything, you need food, clothes, and shelter. You need a minimum level of economic base. You need a minimum level of recognition. You need a minimum level of participation in the political setup to stand for your rights. Only then it is possible to develop a free mind. People want to cut off this material part of life and think that it can be developed independent of that. I don't subscribe to that, and that is not possible for the majority of people who are deprived of any resources, material resources, to for their subsistence. It is not possible. Had I been born in that group, I could not, and you also could not have talked like this. So before that, we need certain level of economic resources. And that is the need of building a good model society. What is a good life? This has been always been very, very much debatable in philosophy throughout the world. We cannot have an unanimous understanding of what is a good life. You may like to go for science, I may go like for philosophy, somebody else may like to go for spiritual enlightenment. But before that, we need a common platform, a common reach of resources. And that requires a just vision of future. That is what Raji is saying about, and that I myself subscribe to. Thank you.
Yes, Alok Tandon-ji, just I shall have my last question. When I am talking about mind, mind has two possibilities. Mind can be involved in something, mind can enter into something, and mind can withdraw. Mind has also the capacity of withdrawal. Animals do not have. Animals can't move back. It is human being who can move front and back. I can engage my mind in something, and I can withdraw my mind from that thing. If we are saying that we should not identify ourselves with the past, similarly we should not identify with the technology, with the modern amenities, all these things. But we are taking advantage of that. Yes, I am giving an example. In summer season, everybody needs AC. I have also AC in my room. But I culture my mind that I shall tolerate. It is called titikya, tolerance. I should tolerate the natural climate. That can I live without AC for 1 hour, for one night, or for even the whole month, whole season. This is the practice. Suppose I have a car to move, but today I decide no, I shall go by bicycle. I shall go on foot. Can I do that comfortably with that same happiness? This is called mindset. You are talking about Dalit people. Many great philosophers, they are from Dalit people who have made revolution in society. In our Odisha, Bhima Bhoi is an example. And many great people, they were not so rich. They are from poor family, but they have made revolution. So yes, civilization is good. We have all types of facilities, and we are taking advantage of that. But that should not be at the cost of our inner growth, our inner transformation. If I ultimate, Achha, what is the last question? Having everything, still we ask the question: Are you happy? Have you got everything in life? You have 5 buildings in 5 towns. Your sons and daughters are well established in foreign countries. Still, are you happy? There's no. I need the presence of my daughter, my son, etc. That means mind needs peace. Mind does not need civilization. That is my point. Civilization helps us for our better living, but that is not everything. Therefore, we should have wisdom. That wisdom that will make our mind free from all types of engagements. Mind should be engaged and mind should be disengaged. In social relation also, that is very much important. We should not depend upon others for being happy. That my daughter-in-law will serve me, will respect me, will do such and such things for me. Don't expect. You don't expect on others or on a matter and also on persons for your happiness. You train your mind that how can you live alone. Living alone means that you should be independent so far as the peace is concerned. After retirement, people think that what shall I do, how can I pass my retirement life. A person who is a karma yogi, who has disciplined his mind, he will find the way out to live the after retirement life. So here our culture is so rich that we do not read Vedas and Upanishads. We don't read a single verse, single sloka of Upanishad. We don't try to understand the meaning of that. Simply at the outset, we criticize the scriptures, and I agree that there are many things which should be criticized, that many things which should not be dogmatically followed. But there are some things which should not be questioned, the cardinal values. If that will be questioned, then question will have no end. It will go in the Socratic model, that question and answer. That is maybe a game for a region, but region is not the ultimate. As Immanuel Kant said, a great philosopher, German philosopher. Kant is not an Indian philosopher. A German philosopher said that region is not everything. When region and sensation come to an end, real life starts. That is the practical region, he says. So my submission, very humble submission, is that yes, we differ from each other and there are different opinions, but after all, we are our minds. When we are going to sleep, we should ask, whatever I have done today, what my life is meant for. Am I have achieved everything. Everything means material things, and material things have no value in another sense also. Okay, so that is my point. But yes, I agree that I am taking the advantage of the modern civilization. Now we are talking online. This is also civilization, this is also technology, and therefore this webinar is possible. But in spite of that, the great asset is our mind, peaceful mind, where we get solace, where we feel affection, where we take rest. Actually we take rest in mind. We don't entertain any restless mind searching happiness one after another through different material things. Even everything is, that is the story between Nachiketa and Jamraj. Jamraj gave everything to Nachiketa. Nachiketa said, I shall not take that because my senses will get tired. One day I shall feel tired out of all these things. I need peace. I need tranquility of mind. That's much. Okay, sir. This is my
I would
personal
like to
submission.
suggest that you are going far beyond the topic of discussion today,
Okay,
and
okay, okay.
you are talking about what is mind, can we identify with the mind, is mind everything, is the tranquility of mind everything, and these are some other questions which are not connected with my discussion today, and you are taking the understanding of civilization in a very superficial things, that it is just the things. That is the means. No, civilization is a broader, is a bigger concept in DK than the culture itself, and its meanings include not only material things, material meanings, but also aesthetic, what you call it, spiritualistic, mental, and meaning itself is a mental phenomena in that sense that you get some meaning in life. So just to say that this whole idea of civilizational progress and vision is against some sort of life of the mind is, I think, it is not correct, and it is for the making the availability, the opportunity for everyone to develop an independent mind, and that is the vision of the future, and that is not possible in this social order, in this unjust social order, because uh, we can easily see every day the person who is toiling for his and his family's bread and butter for whole of his day. How can he live in peace? I gave an example in Corona when people were talking about philosophical counseling. I said, look how a laborer from Bombay in his bicycle, taking his wife and children with little luggage and traveling 200, 300 kilometers from for 4, 5,000 kilometers from Bombay to Bihar, how can you think that he can develop a peace of mind? So these are some of the conditions are also required, and I think civilizational talk talks about both the things, material as well as what you call spiritualistic or mental things. These are parts of human beings. Human beings should not be identified with mind only. And we have committed a mistake in our civilizational progress by going for spiritual progress only, which has not happened for the majority of the people. This is my final take, and I emphasize that, and it is counter to your perspective. So we agree to disagree. We shall
Thank you,
take
thank
on this
you,
later on.
thank you, sir.
Now, thank you very much
Thank you,
for,
sir.
for a
Thank you,
very,
sir.
very engaging discussion we had today. And let us
Thank
go
you,
ahead
thank you, thank you.
with philosophy
Yes,
from
yes,
you.
yes, yes.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much. Okay.
We are very much grateful to Dr. Alok Tandon ji for his very frank, very uh, constructive thought about the future civilization and the meaning of civilization. Thank you, sir. You always come forward with your own creative thoughts, and we respect that. And I also thank Professor Ranjit Ghosh sir for his beautiful questions, and I appreciate his question regarding religious unity and spiritual unity. This question is there in somebody's mind means uh, he's hinting towards something which should be discussed. And I appreciate Dr. Kailash Chandradas sir and others who have also asked very beautiful questions, and they have made their observation in this discussion. So with this, I thank all of you for your beautiful participation and discussion. With this, the session is declared closed. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. We shall meet next Sunday
Thank you
with
very
a,
much.
with a, with a new topic.